Okay, I'm going to try to demonstrate how to produce a data sheet for an individual class that looks pretty much like this and includes all of the key prior attainment or personal data that you might wish to use at the start of the lesson planning process and even the scheme of work planning process. So obviously the process and all this information is from SIMS. So I would go up to the focus menu and scroll down to assessment and mark sheet entry. Now the next stage in my process would be a little bit different, because if I was looking at one of my class lists, I would just scroll down to my mark sheets. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm actually going to use a citizenship class that belongs to Miss Chowdhury. So if I go down there and then press enter, what I've got at the top is all of the academy information sheets for my groups. I need to find the group that's relevant and double click on academy information. So I'm going to look at 9B citizenship 1. So if I double click on that group, I will get the first attempt or the first presentation of information on that group. Now there's a couple of things that I can do at this stage to maximize the information that I actually have on this group. The first thing I'm going to try to do is narrow it so I can see all of the information. I just did that obviously by clicking on narrow. But I want, and this is all prior attainment data and targets and academic data. I want a little bit more than that, because obviously one of the things I need to do is identify the vulnerable groups or significant groups in this cohort. And to do that, I'm going to right click on the student, this top box here, and select additional student columns. Now that gives me a host of information that I can access that is stored in SIMS. I'm actually going to unclick admission number. I don't really want to use that. So the things that I want to be paying particular attention to with this group is which students are on free school meals, any SEN status or particular need, which of the students are gifted and talented, are any looked after, do any have a different first language other than English. So they're the things that I'm really going to try and draw on and make particular reference to and pay particular attention to when planning the lesson. So I'm going to click OK, and all of that information, as you can see, has appeared here for this group. The other thing I'm going to do before I export this data is I'm going to ask SIMS to summarize some of the data, so I'll get general characteristics for the group. So having clicked the summary button there, I've got some summary data there that's appeared at the bottom, and that will also be exported when I put this into Excel. The other thing to look out for is if any of these headers have this little F in there, that suggests that there is a function that can be performed in this column. So I'm going to click calculate, and that will provide me, as you can see, with the average point score at key stage 2. Again, and obviously that's been summarized underneath as well. So now I'm in a position to actually export this data so that I can manipulate it and use it in any way. So I'm going to click not on export, but on the little arrow next to export, and I'm going to export this in an unformatted condition so that I can manipulate it in any way that I wish to. Okay, so that's obviously now exporting this information into Excel. So one thing I may well do is just reduce the size so I can see these, see them clearly and see them all on the one sheet. Okay, so now I have a good basis, a good body of information on this cohort for which to now start the lesson planning process.